Hi, everybody. Good morning. I want to start today with a passage from the Bible, and it's Leviticus 25 1 through 10. And the Lord spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, speaking unto the children of Israel, and saying unto them, When ye come into the land which I have given you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow the field, and 6 years thou shalt prune the vineyard, and gather in the fruits thereof. And in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest of the land, a Sabbath unto the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard, thou which groweth of itself. Of the harvest thou shalt not reap, and the grapes of the undressed vine thou shalt not gather. It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. And the Sabbath of the land shall be for fond for you, for thee, and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for the stranger, and the sojourn with thee, and for the cattle, and for the beasts that are in thy land, shall all the increase thereof be for food, for fond. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7. And there shall be unto thee the days of 7 Sabbaths of years, even 40 and 9 years. Then shall send abroad the loud trumpet on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the day of the atonement shall ye send abroad the trumpet throughout all your land. And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land, and unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man into his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap, for which thy groweth of itself, and it is nor gather the grapes in it of the undressed vines. Now, why do I bring up Leviticus 25? Because Leviticus 25 was stamped onto a Liberty Bell. Well, I shouldn't say stamped. It was included in the casting of the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell was ordered by the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House. He was ordering a bell to be placed in the tower of that building, a government building. And when we talk about religious liberty and freedom, it's the reason why the Pilgrims came here to begin with, and out of a wilderness they carved a home. And by the time we get to the Revolutionary War, we've gone through a lot of religious upheaval and rethinking of ways. There was a great awakening in the early 1740s, and the Liberty Bell was ordered in the 1750s, the early 1750s. But why, in my mind, I wonder why would he choose this passage? And I think it comes down to the talk of liberty and giving freedom to the maids, the servants. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land and all the inhabitants thereof. Now, I think it's important to note how religious a country this really was. No matter how much people want to tell you it wasn't today, there was really a sense of forlorn prayer and desire. Now, when we talk about our founders, we get halfway through the convention and we're talking about giving prayer to help the proceedings along. And this is really where we come from today with the discussion of religious liberty. So we get in past the Constitutional Convention and we start talking about amendments. And the First Amendment to our Constitution was passed with a Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights give us a lot of freedoms and rights. And the First Amendment, it starts out with religious liberty, and it says, the First Amendment says, Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion or the free practice thereof. And that's the section we want to highlight today. So if you aren't respecting a religion, what are you not doing? You're not setting up a state religion. See, in England, we had a state religion. It's the Church of England. It was the Catholic Church. And so there was a kind of religious tyranny in England. And really, Europe is general. So when the Pilgrims came here, they were on a pilgrimage. They're trying to get away from the religious tyranny they were faced with in Europe. So they carved out this wilderness, and each colony was different in a religious liberty. That's why they didn't want Congress passing a law establishing a church. But the second part is just as important. Congress shall pass no law respecting the establishment of religion or the free practice thereof. So they weren't supposed to interfere. And really, government in general is not supposed to interfere with the workings inside of a church. Throughout world history, we've had situations where people were given sanctuary in a church. And it's generally respected to be allowed sanctuary. So if you're in some kind of trouble and your priest, minister, reverend, however we want to determine them, gives them religious sanctuary, then government can't come in and arrest you. What happens in a confines of a church is none of the government's business. Shuttering churches does not fall under the authority of our government. They don't have the right to do so. Church property can't even be taxed. People have a right to worship as they see fit, even onto the battlefield. George Washington would stop and find time to pray, even on the battlefield. I know today everyone isn't a church-going person. And you don't have to be in a church to worship God, but the whole point was to worship the Lord God the way we see fit. Once the country's established, Washington proclaims a day of national thanksgiving. And we'll talk about that further in a few months when we get to that period. But it shows you how religious this nation really was and really still is. I hope you take a good thought of that today, and I'll talk to you again in the next Constitutional Talk. Have a good day.